Now for Global Business Updates, Rotus Oddiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Doctor. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning to all our viewers out there.
Yeah, lucky because what you want to say is well, it's a very violent topic.
We'll bring it up now. We'll bring it up. Let's start globally and come to Nigeria. China. There was the Ministry of, I think, Interior or Finance released an 18-point plan on how they want the outlook for electric vehicles. We talked about this extensively. Basically, they want domestic electric vehicle companies to collaborate with foreign firms. They didn't really give any details as to what that collaboration will be like. I think this is just them coming out to try to counter what the EU has been saying. But they did also say that the overcapacity is going to be reined in. So they've been producing so many. So this was essentially what the Ministry of Commerce put out in a note. From China, we go to streaming. The big news that came out late last night is that Disney, Warner Discovery, and Fox want to collaborate on an all-in-one sports streaming app. And essentially, they haven't named it yet, but it's going to debut later on this year. It can be bundled with existing streaming services like ESPN Plus, Hulu, and other things. Analysts are saying it could capture up to 40 million US households who currently watch traditional television and are not yet on streaming services. In terms of the price, how it would work, they want to give details, but it looks like the streaming folks are starting to understand that, look, sports rights are very expensive. You remember where we almost thought we wouldn't get the African Cup of Nations to see on cable because there were talks that, MultiChoice was bulking at the amount of money they would have to pay in terms of it. So sports rights continue to get more and more expensive. Remember that video we played of Djokovic at the Australian Open where he was breaking down the economics of sports broadcasting and how it's affecting the times that the players play. So this is interesting to see. And then we have a quote from Bob Iger, who is the CEO of Disney, put out a statement saying that this means the full suite of ESPN channels will be available to consumers alongside the sports programming of other leaders. So it's basically a collaboration. I think we move to Spotify now. Yeah, so Spotify, of course, we depended a lot on their numbers for the Grammy discussion. They released their earnings, revenue coming in at 3.6 billion euros, a 16% climb. Gross profits, when you back out your cost of goods sold, 980 million euros, 22% growth. But they still suffered an operating loss of 75 million euros and a net loss of 70 million. However, the loss came in under estimates. Wall Street was expecting that the losses would be high, I think 75 or 80 million euros. So the fact that it came down, the stock actually climbed. And also their user numbers were pretty impressive. Your total MAUs, that's your monthly active users that listen to music on the Spotify platform, came in at 602 million people, 23%. But the key here is how many of those people are paying money on a monthly basis, especially premium subscribers. That came in at 236 million, 15% growth. Then ad-supported MAUs. So if you want to pay less money for your monthly subscription, you will be subjected to ads. Those ads are from companies who are paying Spotify to advertise their products, and maybe you will buy it. Right? So that number, if we can put that number back up, that number also saw some growth as well. But for Spotify, the key thing in the middle, so 375 million, 28% growth. The key thing is that middle number there, the premium subscribers, and as to whether or not they can grow that number substantially in order to bring in the necessary revenues that they need. I think that we move to something you've just discussed, the CBN governor talking about education and also talking about the demand and supply dynamics of foreign exchange when he was speaking to the legislature, along with Wale Edun, Minister of Finance, along with Minister Bagudu, Economy and Financial Planning, along with the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Zacchaeus Adejiji. So here's this part on the education side, as far as demand for FX.
Looking at the demand side of the exchange rate, it's important to note the growing number of Nigerian students studying abroad. In 1980s and 1990s, the need for US dollars for their living expenses was minimal. However, recent data shows a significant change. According to UNESCO's Institute of Statistics, the number of Nigerian students abroad increased from less than 15,000 in 1998 to over 71,000 in 2015. By 2018, the figure had reached 96,702 students as per the World Bank. Another report projects the number of Nigerian students studying abroad to exceed 100,000 by 2022. Additionally, the UK's Higher Education Statistics Agency noted a 64% increase in Nigerians studying in the country, rising from 1320 in 2019-2020 academic session to 21,305 by the 2020-2021 session. Given this data, it is crucial to highlight that between 2010 and 2020, foreign education expenses amounted to a substantial $28.65 billion, as per the CBN's publicly available balance of payments statistics.
All right, so, nothing that he put forward there was, but by the way, for full disclosure, for those who didn't listen, he started off by saying Nigeria is facing, basically demand and supply issues with respect to what's going on with the foreign exchange. And he also talked about oil prices. So unfortunately, if some folks, saying that he was blaming the issues with the foreign exchange on students and people who are going overseas and also medical care, that is not correct. He was just stating existing numbers. And by the way, I couldn't find the footage. We actually talked about this 2 years ago on the morning show, also on the Global Business Show. There's a chart that Nairametrics, we put together based on this. What we looked at, again, we talked about this back in 2021. FX education outflow versus the budget allocation. There was a series that Nairametrics ran on this. Again, 2 years ago, the focus was on education. So you can see that over the data that Cardozo just referred to, this is what he was talking about. So he was talking about, look, you can see how much has been spent, the blue bars at the bottom of the screen there, 2.7 billion in 2011, all the way through to 2020. You can see 2016, we suffered a recession, it dropped to 500 million, and then rebounded in 2017. Your orange line at the top is your budget allocation as a percentage of the total. That is your education budget, right? You can see that as a percentage of what the total allocation for the budget in that particular year. UNESCO says it should be 15% or more. We never actually hit that number. So even I had this on the Global Business Report, just to buttress the point. We even talked about this 2 years ago. Here's a guest that I had from Financial Derivatives Company Limited.
And this capital flight that we've seen, about $28.65 billion actually in 10 years, is huge. And for the flip part is that there is no, at the same price, inflow of foreign investments in education. It's actually very low, and this is actually affecting our education system. And I won't blame the diasporas; they're not coming back, because most of them, once they travel this way, it's actually difficult to come back. Most of them don't even come back, because if they had come back, it would have affected our education system, because most of them might pick up lecturing jobs, impact into the younger generation coming up, or probably go into different sectors that will stimulate productivity, economic activities, and lead us to this growth trajectory. But because looking at it, to be fair, actually, on them, looking at what we have here in Nigeria, they're the better opportunities, talking about employment, talking about payment, access to general infrastructural, higher standard of living. You can keep mentioning and listing these points, what you stand to gain.
So again, none of this stuff is new. We've talked about it, so nobody's blaming anybody. The CBN governor was just stating the numbers as they are for demand and supply. All right, so now I'm back with my wahala again with too many children, and this time looking at polygamy. There was a, Dr. Mati, you're laughing already. There was a viral video on Twitter yesterday, about 700,000 views on, anyway, let me not just, anyway, there were 3 business terms that were used in this video. Which you should pay attention to this: contracts, outsourcing, and optimization. See if you can pick them out from here. Good.
There's a concept in physiology. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Okay.
The only form of exercise your prostate gland gets is during erection, and that erection comes with sexual activity. Okay. So the study is abundantly clear that a man in healthy shape should be able to have sexual interaction 21 times a month.
21 times?
A month, to avoid prostate issues, prostate cancer, or cardiovascular issues. If you don't exercise the gland, it swells on you. It becomes enlarged. When it becomes enlarged, that is a precursor to cancer. So yes, you have a beautiful wife. do whatever it takes to please that woman so she can give it to you 21 times a month.
Yeah, but that's if she pleases you, because you have to be in the right state of mind, isn't it?
Yeah, but don't quote me to your wife, Dr. Ken. So if she doesn't please you, I advocate to my patients that you can have a side chick. Your side chick could be on contract, but you just know that you need to do your 21 times to avoid prostate cancer.
What you are saying is to optimize.
To optimize.
If you can't get it at home, you should find a way to outsource that person and let it be optimized.
Yes, yes.
When you're talking about 21 times, I mean, a lot of people will say it's impossible in our context. A man has not eaten properly in Nigeria. How can he find the strength for 21 times? A man has to be polygamous to be able to achieve that level of frequency.
And physiologically, men, our DNA shows that men are actually known to be polygamous. We are wired to be polygamous.
So again, viral video was funny, all that stuff. The key thing, at least for me, was the polygamy side of it, right? So Lamido Sanusi, if you remember, let me remind everyone of his comments. This was like 2020 or 2021 about the economic side of this thing. It says there are people who cannot afford to feed one wife, but are ready to marry 3 wives and have more children than they can feed, talk less of paying for their school fees, right? Then there's the data from the Bureau of Statistics. This was released in 2021. It was the multiple indicator cluster survey saying that 42 to 46% of women are in polygamous unions. They're aged 15 to 49. And then meanwhile, this makes sense that the number for men is less, where it's 18 to 29%, mostly in the Northeast and the Northwest. And it overlaps with the regions of the country where the most poverty is. So wealthy men can have polygamous families because it's basically a microcosm of GDP growth and population growth, where Nigeria's GDP is not growing to meet up with population. Wealthy people can do that. But the issue that we're facing in Nigeria is that we still have much poorer people who are in polygamous relationships and do not have the funds to feed them. So whereby a larger family is putting more stress on the ability to be able to provide. That's essentially our updates for today.
Okay, so you want Dr. Abati to comment on it?
No, I mean, it's just, again, it's on the children thing.
Let me comment on my own comment first, before Dr. Abati will comment on it.
See, my point, also one more point. In these tough economic times where we're talking about palliatives, higher cost of food, transportation, it is harder for these families to be able to feed themselves. So the awareness has to be...
Yeah, exactly. But me, I know that the reason why you brought this topic is not because of polygamy, it's because of the 21-day cycle.
No, it's no, it's not.
Let me comment on other issues first. Issues I have expertise in, not the issues we leave for Dr. Abati's expertise. As regards the streaming companies trying to have a lump sum sports booking, I think it's already even started on the African continent. You saw the new revamp of Showmax.
Yeah.
And there's an add-on for sports there. So if you buy it and all of that, I think officially it's the end of linear television. Linear television is as good as gold. And when you look at the cable numbers, they're dropping drastically in America. So the future of television definitely will be through streaming, online and all of that, and how you can key into it. And that's why a lot of people were looking at that possibility of the deal between Vivendi and MultiChoice, but that deal fell through because MultiChoice was saying that Vivendi undervalued them.
Yeah.
Probably that deal will still come back to the table, but me, in my own eyes, all I'm seeing is it not the case of Vincent Bolloré taking over the media landscape on the African continent? Because Vivendi is Vincent Bolloré, and also he has 30% shares in MultiChoice already. If this finally is concluded, this is a large portion, an exposure. MultiChoice has got 23 million, Canal has got 9 million, an exposure of about 31 with the possibility to grow to about 35 million in the hands of Vincent Bolloré of cable TV operators.
So regulators had an issue with that. So
that's what I see. And hey, you and I know the antecedents of Vincent Bolloré with CN News in France and the emergence of Eric Zemmour and all of that. So he's quite right-wing as he can get. So I'm looking at that, you know. But I will shut up afterwards. I mean, concerning the Cardozo thing, I think it's just a reflection. What we're pretty much saying is the fact that, why you have those high numbers, because we have also bucked the trend on developing an educational and healthcare sector, and these are things we should do. But I would like to hear Dr. Abati's input on the 21-day cycle.
Quickly jump in.
Because
you know that the person that we're all waiting for her. But let me just say that, Rotus, with regards to the interview, the throwback interview you had with the lady with regards to our healthcare and education, I think one of the things that it just reflect on that is that we're still in the same. How many years ago was that? How long ago?
2 years ago.
So it was still actually in a worse state than we are, because at that time I don't even think the jackpot syndrome was this bad. And I love her take, still relevant with regards to how do we attract these people to come back home, because in some ways exporting human resources, but how do we maximize that? It's the value they bring back beyond the remittances. Remittances are meant to be, it's good, more income, but also the expertise, what they've gone, what they gain from going there. The way we can spin this or turn this around for our own good is by seeing how we can make this nation attractive enough to come back. Because I bet you, Rotus, a number of people who have jackpot are willing to come back if things are favorable. And finally, just also demonstrate how there are far-reaching impacts of these institutional failures on the economy. So everything feeds into, at the end of the day, how this impacts our economy as a nation. So we cannot just speak in isolation with, and that's why, the CBN government has also been very big on letting fiscal policy and monetary policy work side by side. Very important. Dr. Basil.
First, let me start with Cardoso. Yeah. We discussed that earlier. Yes, his point was about demand and supply, which he illustrated. I had made that point this morning. But the other part of it is that he was saying in that same presentation before the House of Representatives that inflation this year is going to come down to 21%. Now, how can he be so sure? Yeah. That's my question for him. Because he's saying, global supply chain pressures will ease. He's not in a position to predict that. We thought it would ease when they had Russia, Ukraine, but we had even a worse situation now in the Suez Canal, in the Red Sea. So he cannot say that. And then another reason that he gave is that there are measures, the measures that they are adopting to target inflation. Policy measures to target inflation will bring it down to 21%. Well, what are those inflation targeting measures? Maybe perhaps when the MPC meets, 26, 27, yes, we'll begin to have a clearer idea of what it means, because he couldn't articulate that. And then the third reason he gave was improved agricultural productivity at a time when we've been discussing food insecurity in Nigeria. So how is he sure that agricultural productivity will increase, given the cocktail of factors on the table, not least of which is insecurity and, farmers not having access to the farms, even in the food basket of Nigeria. So all this wishful thinking, I think people in charge of policy positions should move away from wishful thinking and just stay with hard data, things that they are sure of. And in other countries of the world, they are talking 2%. Even where inflation has gone down to 3.4%, they're saying they are looking at 2%. We are jubilating 21% here. Meanwhile, in December, the National Bureau of Statistics put Nigeria's inflation, headline inflation, at 28.92%. Correct. So what magic is Cardoso going to perform that he will crash it from 28.92 to 21%? That's why I say we'll see. Now, to the other issue about prostate. Yes. Now, I thought the doctor in that interview was discussing a very serious matter. Yes. About the prostate gland. Yes. Which is a major problem for men that are over 50. Yep. A lot of men who are over 50, they have prostate issues, whether benign or that is cancerous. Okay, the King of England, King Charles III, he went to the hospital for a routine, prostate, examination before it was discovered that he had a form of cancer. Not prostate, though. Correct. Nobody has said that, But the thing is that men, as they grow older, could have issues with prostate. And that doctor was offering an idea. He says that as a male Homo sapien, you have to be active sexually. I thought I had that. And when he said 21 times per month, I saw that, the uncle to my right was excited. I saw excitement. I saw a glint in your eyes, when you had 21 times. But I don't know what caused that excitement on your part. Ayo. But no.
Is it a proper observation?
21 days. Is it 21 days fasting?
No, the interview was about men. But I saw that the woman on this table was excited.
Of the 21 days.
But in any case, you were saying polygamy.
Yes.
No, I'm looking at the medical side of it. Because that's the main substance. Yes. So the doctor was giving advice that men men should be sexually active. I thought I had him also suggesting that people should have side chicks.
Yeah, on contrast, I asked that. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah,
because
okay.
it has economic impact.
What he's saying, and you thought, okay, maybe polygamy will solve the problem. Right. Because if a man has 2-3 wives, he probably, will be very active. And you were trying to cite the example of poor people acquiring more wives. Well, that's the reality. Because if you set up a building and you have a gate man, a security man, go and check. Those security men guarding the big man, they are healthier than the big man. Yeah. Because some of them have 5 wives. They have like 20 children that they can't take care of all. But they are very active. Maybe so the doctor is very right there that a man should be active upstairs and downstairs. Because that's what the doctor is recommending. Well, I don't know whether other doctors share the same view. But polygamy is something, or polygyny, is something that has been heavily, criticized. Okay, if you go to the Old Testament, it is recommended in 1 Samuel, in 1 Kings, in Genesis.
No, Dr. Matthew, what did they say? Because how is it recommended in 1 Samuel?
Do you want me to quote the Bible to you? No, it's only in New Testament that polygyny, is criticized under the concept of one man, one wife. I know you are the pastor, so if I begin to quote those sections, we will not leave here.
The Old Testament recommend multiple wives.
They didn't recommend. People had multiple wives.
Go and check it now.
He said, go and check it.
It's there in Exodus, it's there in Corinthians, it's there in 1 Kings, it's there in 1 Samuel, it's there in
First Kings.
It was originally propounded by Thomas Malthus, 1798, an essay on population, where he was saying that, if population is increasing geometrically and food supply is increasing arithmetically, then of course there will be disequilibrium in society, except you have checks like famine, like earthquakes, like diseases and all of that. But, with advancements in science now, people just breed, and hence you have that distortion. But I hope that you bringing up that topic this morning, you are not recommending population control, because it will not sell in Nigeria. For cultural reasons, for religious reasons, you can't preach population control to Nigerian people. There is a population policy of 4 per family, but nobody observes it. In fact, the people who made the policy are the ones breaking that policy. And I hope you will not go a step further to make a case for the Chronic Bachelors Association of Nigeria. Don't worry, you and Rufai getting married and producing children is not the problem that Nigeria is worried about. That's not, you're adding to the population will not affect food supply.
What you should be worried about,
it will not affect food supply.
What you should be worried about is us meeting our 21-day quota. How we are going to beat the 21-day quota?
No, I recommend that you
for my prostate, or like some people call it prostrate.
No, that's the recommendation of
21-day quota.
And to the extent that Ayo is excited, many women out there also that will be excited.
We need to fact check that, doctor.
21 days.
Fact check him for that.
21 days.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.